Okay, so today I'm going to speak about 5 effective emotional traits for life. And I think this is important for any area of your life. But before we start, please subscribe to the channel. Please push the like button whether you like this or not. Please comment. This will help us with our algorithm. And please share this message. If you know of somebody that this message can really help, just don't tell them because that means they need 5 effective emotional traits. But share this message with some people that you believe it can help. My name is Albert Wille. This is a company called Mind Prosperity. And we use emotional intelligence teachings to help people with their mental wealth. And I also do emotional intelligence trainings in the workplace. If you want to know more about those sessions, please send me an email and I will send you information. Those sessions can be done in person or in Zoom. So please let me know. Also, I do individual consultations also on Zoom or in person. So you can just let me know about that on my email address. So let's start. 5 effective emotional traits for life. I read a lot of things that Daniel Goleman wrote, who wrote about emotional intelligence, and they spoke about a survey they did in America with employers, and they asked these employers what kind of employees do they want, and what is lacking, and half of them said that they find that employees lack motivation, self-motivation, things that get to emotional intelligence, teamwork, things like that. And in the survey they actually concluded these 5 traits that is necessary for people that to be motivated and to be effective in life. And those are the 5 traits we're going to speak about today. And I said all that just to tell you that these 5 traits, I didn't suck it out of my thumb. There was actually a survey done, and I want to thank Dr. Daniel Goleman that I can share this today. So here are the 5 traits, and although these 5 traits are used or the survey was done with employers and employees, that I believe these 5 traits can be used in any area of life. So here we go. The first one is the ability to listen and to communicate. The ability to listen and to communicate. And I think this is something that I'm struggling with because I believe I'm a brilliant communicator. You might be sitting there like, no, bro, you're not doing such a great job. But I believe, it's what I believe that's important. I believe I'm a good communicator. But to be very honest with you, I'm not always that great with the listening. I think I'm much better. But I think that's the thing that I've been struggling with. And one of my mentors in business, we had a meeting this week, and he helps a lot with some of the Mind Prosperity things that we are doing, because all of us need help and encouragement and mentorship all the days of our lives. And he told me this. He said, many people get to that place where they where they formulate the question that they want to ask while the other person is still speaking. That means a person we tend to want to communicate, but we don't tend to want to listen. So in communication, listening is very important, and I think perception is very important. Sometimes we listen from our perception and then we make a wrong conclusion, but we shouldn't just listen from our perception. We should try to understand the other person's perception. I think a great thing to do is when a person speaks to you and you think like you might misunderstand what they're saying, communicate to them what you do understand. Say, am I right? Is this what you want? In the workplace, it's very important, because if you don't do that, you don't really answer somebody's question. People can come into your job, into your workplace, and they can ask a certain question, and you can just respond with what you think is right. You can respond with what you think is necessary. You can respond with what you think they want. And people can walk away and they can be like, you gave me a lot of information, but you didn't really answer my question, and you didn't really fulfill my need. I'm actually walking away with more questions than what I walked in with. And that's why listening and communication is such a very important emotional trait in life. The second one is adaptability and creative responses to setbacks and obstacles. Adaptability and creative responses to setbacks and obstacles. And I call this a creative problem solver. I believe creativity is a very important thing. I believe creativity is a very necessary thing, because so many times in life, we have this idea of something that's going to happen. We have this vision. We have this idea of something that should happen. But in life, this thing gets, kind of turned around in a way that we don't expect. And, so many people, they get confused. They get like, why did this happen? I never expected expected this to happen. And so many times in life, things will happen that you didn't expect. And that's why adaptability and a creative response is very important. Learning to be a problem solver is very important. And that gets back to a place where we call what we call resilience. And Southwick and Charney in 2012 wrote about this. One of the greatest books and greatest research that I ever read about resilience. And this is what they said. They said traumatic events can cause turmoil in our lives in an unpredictable way or in unpredictable ways, meaning I didn't expect this, I didn't know this was going to happen. And no two people will respond the same. For some, the stress of the event will become chronologic and everlasting, meaning that they will never learn to deal with it, they will never get over it. And remember, it's the same event. We're not talking about different events here. So as they say, well, one person will get to that place where this thing is chronological. They will kind of break down and they will not get over it. But many will come depressed or develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Some people may feel distressed, but they will find ways to continue with a purposeful life. And for some, it will be as if the trauma never occurred. And for others, although some of the distress still occurs, they find healthy steps to cope with it. And this is why adaptability and creative responses is so important when life happens, when things happen that we don't expect. Are you going to be the person that's just going to go into this mood when it's chronological, and nothing can be changed or nothing can be done by this? Or are you going to be the person that says, okay, this did hurt me, this was unexpected, this wasn't nice, but I'm gonna be adaptable and I'm gonna find some creative ways to be a problem solver. And this is such a great and such an important emotional response in life. So number one, learn to listen, learn to communicate, learn to hear, learn to talk, and then number two, be adaptable and be creative when situations happen that you didn't expect. Number three, self-management and self-confidence. And this is where you stay motivated and where you develop oneself. And it's also like a place where you can actually motivate yourself. And I think this is also so very important in the workplace. And I think in any area, kind of like to motivate yourself, in families, in marriages, kind of like I have to motivate myself to get this thing going and to make this thing work. I kind of have to motivate myself and know how to motivate myself every single day of life. Self-management and self-confidence. When I speak about self-management and self-confidence, I'm not saying you shouldn't have mentors, you shouldn't have people in your life to encourage you. I think that's very important, and I have many of them. And to be quite honest, there are many days in my life where I don't feel like I can motivate myself, and it's something that I'm working on. But I think it's such an important thing to get to that place to say, listen, I have mentors, I have motivators, I have people that can speak into my life, but I have to learn to motivate myself. I have to learn to encourage myself, whatever the situation may demand. Chad Veach, in his book Help I Worked With People, made the following statement. He said, "You are the protagonist of the story of your life. You can't escape yourself, and you can't operate beyond who you are and where you are. Your leadership always starts with you. Your influence does not begin with the number of people you lead or the size of your salary. You are the starting point of your influence." And when we think about leadership, when we think about influence, we are so tend to think, how many people follows me, how many people do I lead, how many people are under my leadership, how many people do I influence, what is my salary, what do I achieve, what are my successes. And I'm not saying that those things aren't important, and you do want to follow a leader that has successes in some areas and has proven that they could build something. But here Chad Veach is saying that leadership starts with self. You cannot lead other people if you don't learn to lead yourself. You cannot help other people until you learn to help yourself. You cannot counsel and motivate other people until you learn how to counsel and motivate yourself. Marina spoke about intrapersonal intelligence, and we're going to see now also what he said about interpersonal intelligence. But he said people with intrapersonal intelligence has the ability to comprehend their own moods, their own intentions, and their own motivations. So starting with the self when it comes to leadership and influence, and I say leadership and influence, but leadership actually is influence, where you can get to that place where you influence other people. And we are all on a journey, we are all growing, we all make mistakes, but through this we have to learn again to be resilient, again to motivate ourselves through it, again to forgive ourselves through it. I think I'm very good at forgiving other people because I've learned to be good in forgiving myself. I think that's a very, very important thing. So the ability to listen and to communicate, the ability to be adaptable and creative when life throws you around or when unexpected things happen, and then to learn to have self-management and self-confidence. And then the fourth one I want to give you is interpersonal effectiveness, and that's where it gets to effectiveness with other people, where it's about unity, empathy, and teamwork skills. And Dr. Daniel Goleman also placed like a lot of emphasis on the importance of empathy in emotional intelligence. And when we think about empathy, we think, but how does empathy actually help us in the workplace? How does empathy help us to build something? And this is a statement I want to give you that's extremely important. Empathy creates unity, because empathy goes beyond yourself. Empathy goes to that place like where it says, I care about you as much as I care about myself. If you are hurting, I'm hurting. If you are happy, I am happy. And that's why empathy creates unity. Empathy is almost the opposite of jealousy and envy, because in jealousy and envy there's competition in a team, whether it's like a sports team, whether it's like an organization. It's always like this competition, like I want you to do bad and I want to do good. But when there's empathy says, I'm excited for you when you do good, and I will help you when you do bad. Empathy creates unity. Empathy helps with teamwork skills. And I cannot tell you how many times I sit with companies, I sat with people where there's like a lack of motivation because there's like a lack of empathy. You just have these people in the team that cannot control their emotions, they cannot manage their anger, they cannot manage their temper. It spills down to all the other people, and then people get demotivated. People get to that place where they don't want to go to work, where they don't want to be part of the team, because there are just people in the team that doesn't have empathy. There are people in the team that doesn't have emotional intelligence, and I cannot tell you how much that affects the company. It's like an extreme thing. So if you are a boss of a company, if you're a leader or an employer or even an employee, I want to encourage you, study a bit on empathy and see how much this has influence. So Marinas also said, he spoke now about interpersonal intelligence. He said interpersonal intelligence is the ability to understand others and how to effectively work with others. People with interpersonal intelligence has the ability to comprehend the moods, intentions, and motivations of others. Intrapersonal intelligence is where I know how to deal with me. Interpersonal intelligence is knowing how to deal with others. This is the place where it's actually nice to be around you. This is the place where it's actually nice to be in your atmosphere. And if you can create this in your company, people would want to work for you, not because they need a salary, not because they need a job, but because they love the atmosphere. People would want to grow. People would want to be nourished. So I cannot emphasize enough how much emotional intelligence, how much empathy, how much interpersonal and intrapersonal intelligence can actually affect the environment of the workplace and affect the environment of the people. Imagine we can build that company where people are like, I want to be there. I want to be part of this. I want to build this. I want to make this a success because of the atmosphere, because of the people, because I actually care about the people, because I actually care about the team, because I actually care about the company. And only emotional intelligence can do that. And I've been at some places, at some companies where they have a good product, but they don't have a good atmosphere. And people want to run away. People don't want to be a part of that. And even customers, I'm a customer that don't go to certain places, not because I don't like the product. I love the product, but the atmosphere is bad. There's no emotional intelligence. And if a person doesn't feel cared for, if a person doesn't feel good when they walk away from you, they're not going to come back. I'll use the product, but I'll send somebody else to go get it, like literally. So this is why interpersonal effectiveness, unity, empathy, motivation of others, and motivating others is such an important thing. Number 5, leadership and influence. And this is where it comes by wanting to make a contribution. I also read this in Daniel Goleman's book, and they said that they did a survey. In the survey, they did a study. Sorry, not a survey, a study. And in the study, they found that people with an IQ of 160 tend to work for people with an IQ of 100. Now, but this, I'm not saying every single boss has a lower IQ than the employee. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying this research did find that a lot of times the leader of the company is not the one with the high IQ, and the one that's the employer or the employee rather in the company has a much higher IQ. And then they realized leadership is not about IQ, or great leadership is not about IQ, but it's about EQ, emotional intelligence, because they found that the best leaders had the best or highest emotional intelligence. And this is what Chad Veach also said in his book, Help I Work with People. He said, people need leaders if they are going to fight for a cause or win championships. You can only win with great leadership, but they do not accomplish those things alone. Leaders need teams. So you cannot accomplish a goal without great leadership, without great influence, but those great leaders and those great influencers cannot accomplish something with a great team. People need leaders, and leaders need teams. And this is why this area is so important. So if you look at these 5 ways, or if you look at these 5 emotional traits, you will find that these 5 traits, it starts maybe with you, and it starts with the individual, and it starts with leading yourself, but it creates unity, it creates empathy, it creates motivation, and it creates so many things that will help you in life. So let's go through them again. The ability to listen and to communicate with others, adaptability and creative ways to solve problems when life doesn't go your way, self-management and self-motivation. And this is where, like I said earlier, where intrapersonal intelligence is so important, where you know how to deal with your moods, where you know how to deal with you. And then interpersonal effectiveness, and this is where it goes to the team. This is where unity, empathy, and motivating others is so important. And this is where interpersonal intelligence plays a great role, and this will take you to leadership and influence. And leadership is influence. I want to say that again. John Maxwell actually said that leadership is influence, when you get to a place where you can influence others. I also had a conversation with the same mentor that I mentioned earlier, and he said to me, we are at a place now. So he's older than me, and he said when he was young, titles were everything. If somebody with a title said something, you would listen. He said, but today we're not there anymore. Today, people don't care about your title, they care about your influence. So you don't need a title to have influence. People are not going to listen to you today because of your title. People are going to listen to you today because of your influence. And I cannot tell you how much emotional intelligence plays a role in influence. So those are the 5 effective traits. Thank you so much for watching. We love you. Thank you for watching these videos. We will see you soon again. From Mind Prosperity, goodbye.